So I'm back here with the latest Copilot Plus PC. It is of course the Zenbook A14 from ASUS that I have covered before, but that was more of a preview because it was a pre-production unit that I have here, but this is now a final production unit. So I can give you those benchmarks that I couldn't show you in that video. So Geekbench, that will be covered. Cinebench as well. I'll show you a little bit of the 3D performance, some benchmarks, what you can expect out of this Snapdragon X powered Copilot Plus PC. So it does have 32 gigabytes of RAM. That's just over 8,400 mega transfers. So it's incredibly quick. 1 terabyte of storage, and depending on your configuration, it may even have Wi-Fi 7. This one's got Wi-Fi 6E, and it's got an OLED screen, which unfortunately is 60 Hertz, and the resolution is 1200p. Weight-wise, very, very good. It's just 980 grams, and it's using their Sur aluminum build. So an excellent build quality to it. Backlit keyboard, and the touchpad is all pretty much exactly as I had in the pre-production unit. So very good quality there. And I'll be letting you know all about this PC in this review. Total travel weight with what we get in the box, which is our power supply and power cable, you're looking at then at 1.34 kilos. Still excellent for a total travel weight for a 14-inch laptop. The build is made out of Sur aluminum, so this is a very resistant material. In fact, it's got military-grade drop protection, resists liquids, fingerprints really well. You can see the Zenbook branding on the back and just nice small little letters there. And there's a tiny bit of flex if I press down on the lid. Now, the Sur aluminum is the lid, the palm rest, the keyboard, the housing, and the rear cover. Now, this is the beige color. And what I covered before in my other video is the slate color, that gray, and it also looks very good. Now, if you want something that looks a little different, then you go with this color, but my favorite, I think, is the slate version, just looks a little bit better. Now, the hinge, yes, you can open it up one hand. We're presented then with our backlit keyboard, so it has various different stages. It's got 1.3 millimeters of travel, and it has 0.1 millimeter of a slight inwards curvature to those keys. And typing on this keyboard, really good. The keycaps feel great. Very little flex. There's a compromise with the arrow keys. They're half size. And yes, the power key is where the delete key is. So this keyboard layout, yes, a little bit different because it's the Spanish layout. So I have the localized version. Here's the US keyboard layout too, if you wanted to see that. So that's your normal kind of layout. That's what we use too in New Zealand as well, that one. It's a very nice keyboard on both of them. Touchpad, very smooth surface, really good accuracy. The cursor does not skip around. And it's a laptop that I can quite happily just use the touchpad, and I don't feel like you need to plug in a mouse at all. Now we've got their gesture support on the side, so you can control the brightness and the volume from the sides there and swap between different apps. So right now I'm just controlling the brightness. You can't really see it on screen, but there we go. Now the brightness going up and down, and control the volume there on the fly. Very quick and easy to do. So with this OLED screen, there's some good and there's some bad. So I'll start off with the positives, that we have an OLED, so very deep blacks, and the screen's colors, the saturation, excellent. It's all very bright and overall looking great. However, resolution 1200p, 16 by 10 aspect ratio. Brightness, ASUS's claim is it's 600 nits. Now, I can't measure that. I'm getting close to 500. I get 491 nits with my Spider X Pro here, and Adobe sRGB coverage of 93%, which is pretty typical for an OLED. So good colors, good overall brightness. It's a glossy reflective display, yes. And the downside to it all, the big one for me, not the resolution, but this. And you're probably not going to notice it because I'm recording at 30 frames per second, but it's 60 Hertz the refresh rate. It's not 120, sadly. So it's a shame, and I really would have liked to have seen high res and high refresh rate offering even for this Snapdragon X model, not the X Elite model. On the underside, we have the downwards firing speakers. Now, I turned on the audio boost mode, and I'll give you a sample of what they sound like. And I think they could be still a little bit louder, but here's what they sound like. It's okay, and I do wish they were upwards firing. So downwards firing is all right, but if you do use it as a laptop on your lap, you're going to be blocking these speakers a bit. So we've got a 70 watt hour battery in this, and because it's an ARM chip, it's very efficient too. And if you put it in the whisper mode or the standard mode, battery life for me has been phenomenal. And I'm talking like 30% brightness. You're using, say, web browsers, Chrome, and emails and light kind of work. This thing's going to go for around, in my testing, 13, 14 hours, which is absolutely crazy compared to, say, x86 or x64 chipsets like your Intels and your AMDs. You'll never be able to get that kind of performance. And when the power's off, when you haven't got the AC plugged in, well, it is going to still have that exact same performance. Ports are good. We do have on the right-hand side just the single Type A port, 10 gigabits per second. Good to see. And that's USB 3.2. And then on our left-hand side, we've got the audio jack with mic support and then 240 gigabits per second. So both of those there support power delivery, both support display out and the HDMI 2.1. So we can in total run the internal display at 1200p and then 4K 60, 4K 60, and 4K 60. So that is great. You can have 3 external displays hooked up to this, and you can see status LED there. And that Sur aluminum build, very good. It just feels nice. It's a great looking laptop, and the overall build quality is exceptionally good. Webcam quality test now with the Zenbook A14. So it's 1080p. The microphones are either side of it. There's dual mics, there's a dual array, and they sound great. You can hear from just the sample, which is, of course, the built-in microphone. Excellent. Very good. Much better than what laptops used to have a few years ago. They used to be absolutely terrible. Now, we do have Windows Studio effects, and I'll see if I can turn a few of those on right now. So I'll turn the background blur on. You've got 2 settings for that. So that's the standard. This is now portrait. Creative filters, if you like to have a bit of fun maybe. Then you've got this one, which is illustrated. You've got watercolor and animated here. So I basically look like a cartoon, don't I? And I'll turn those off, don't really need them. There's also eye contact, which will keep your eyes looking at the camera, even though maybe you're looking down at your keyboard or doing something else. Portrait light and automatic framing too, so it's going to move around and keep you centered there. So all up, good webcam and excellent microphones in the Zenbook A14. Here we are in Windows, and this is a Windows 11 Home, the version it is running. And I just show you a couple of things in here of interest. So we have the NPU. We're looking at a total of 45 tops with your AI performance there. And it's the Snapdragon X 126-100. So there are different versions out there with different clock rates. And this is the one that I have present in this Zenbook A14. And the wireless, this is their own one, Qualcomm, and it does a pretty good job because I found that my connection, at least to even my Wi-Fi 6E that I've got, has been excellent signal strength. Now you can get up to, depending on the version, it could come with Wi-Fi 7 support too as well, but this one you can see is the Wi-Fi 6E. And really, yeah, good. I'm impressed with it. So you can see I've got McAfee in the corner here. This is the only nagging thing with the software that's included with this hair model from ASUS. And I really wish they wouldn't do this, but obviously they've got some sort of partnership with McAfee. And it does recommend you to subscribe and sign up to that one. But let's just kill that, get rid of that there. So now I can finally show you some benchmarks, which is great. I've been wanting to do this. You can see the internal storage, PCIe 4.0 speeds there. And we're looking at excellent speeds, almost sequential reads and writes there of close to 7,000 points. Very good random reads and writes. So everything checks out there. And on first boot, you get about 870 gigabytes free. Now, there's no easy access hatch to take a look at or swap out that SSD. But you can upgrade that if you wanted to. You've got to remove the whole underside of it though. However, our Cinebench, this is another one that I was keen to check out. And you can see performance here from this ARM chipset from Snapdragon, from Qualcomm should I say, is okay. Yeah, single core score here you can see of 959 points and then 7,262 for the multi-core score. I do have just a few others. I don't want to bore you too much with these benchmarks. So integrated graphics performance here, we are looking at Wildlife Extreme of 3,214. It's a little bit on the low side compared to what, say, AMD or Intel's integrated graphics can do. And the same for this one here too with the Night Raid score. So it's graphic-wise not super powerful at all. But I mean, this is more of an office PC for spreadsheets, documents, media playback, and all that sort of stuff that I did show you a bit of in the previous video.
but it can do things like edit 4K video, even 8K I tested out in that last video. And single core performance here with Geekbench 6 is just over 2000. Multi-core score, that's very good considering this is an octa-core. Well, it has the 8 threads in total with it, which is okay performance. Now, seen from, say, the new Lunar Lakes from Intel, multi-core scores being similar, but however, single-core scores with those would be around about 2500. So this is falling a little bit behind in single-core performance, but overall, very quick and snappy experience. And if you haven't seen the first hands-on video, video playback is reasonably good too. It's good. The Adreno graphics handles that, and overall, I'm pleased with the performance. It's quick, it's snappy. I won't focus too much on that because I covered a little bit of it in the previous video. But the RAM speeds, they are definitely helping too with the performance because we're looking at very good transfer speeds here. So, oh, that's the multi-display that I've brought up. App switcher there, don't want that. You can see there, we're looking at 84, just over mega transfers. So it's quick, very quick RAM, and we get 32 gigabytes with this particular version I'm testing out. The other built-in software we get with it, well, there's ASUS's own MyASUS that I'll show you just in a second, but we have this here too, which is their Story Cube. And of course, Copilot, that's another thing, so you can bring that up. Launch Copilot. I'll be showing you what you can do with that shortly. But let's have a look at what we get here with the software, what can be customized. So I ran through some of this, most of it in fact on the previous video, but I'll just quickly go over it now. So you've got different fan profiles. This is controlling not only just the fan RPMs and their different profiles, but also, of course, our performance with the power limit that's going to be controlled. Now, we've got the whisper mode, so that's 25 decibels only in the whisper mode, very quiet. Full speed mode is what I've been running for the benchmarks. You also have the option of performance, which is a step down. The fans won't come on as much. And then standard. You have their hibernation helper. The audio, we've got their AI noise cancelling with the microphone. Now, I should actually put that into single presenter mode there too. And that's using a bit of AI to remove background noise to focus on our voice to make sure it is nice and clear. So we're not going to have any problems coming through. Different sound modes here, basically just a graphic equalizer. You have your volume booster that I've put on because I found the speakers to be a little bit lacking in volume. With it on, it certainly does help. OLED care, so that's very important. We're looking at an OLED display as I showed you before. So you want to try and reduce that risk of having any screen burn. So that's why we've got these options, and you can automatically hide the taskbar at the bottom, which I highly recommend as well to stop that eventually burning in maybe after 5 years or something. And they've got flicker-free dimming. So I've noticed no flicker with the display. And it is good, even though this display, as I pointed out before, it's a step down in resolution from what I reviewed previously. It still is excellent, being an OLED here. So you've got color gamut options. You have the target mode, adaptive edge brightness, so you can tweak a couple of these things here, and task first. This I haven't really been running myself, but it can prioritize your bandwidth, your internet, and focus on what you select here. Maybe you're doing a bit of productivity stuff or streaming, then you can get it to focus on that. Smart Connect, that's there too, touchpad and the gestures, yeah, they're all there, working good. Function key options, the keyboard, you can have it on automatic brightness, you can set it to sleep and control the different modes there. So it's pretty straightforward. The most useful one, I think, is probably your power and performance, and you do get your system updates here. So I have had an update, which is for the Qualcomm chipset, come through already. One thing I haven't tested out a lot of is the new AI features you get with Windows. I know I've showed a little bit of Copilot before, but let's have a look at Paint here. And what I want to do is test out the generative full that we can use. This is using the MPU from our Snapdragon X, and I've been asked to show this, and it's actually quite interesting what you can do. So I want to add to this photo here that I took down in New Zealand, a skyscraper with this waterfall, which by the way is Hanua Falls, and I want freeform tool. So I'm just going to select this part here, and I think that'll do it, just this area. See, I've got this little option now, generative full, and I want to add here a skyscraper. So let's just key that in. Now this will take approximately 30 seconds, sometimes a little bit longer, and hopefully it does a good job. Okay, it's added a skyscraper in the background, so I want to keep that. I mean, that doesn't look too bad. Semi-believable? No, not really. There's no way they would build a skyscraper like that in this area. Still, it's pretty cool to do this. And there's another option too, and that is the generative arrays. Now, this one, I want to get rid of this sign and those people on the beach. Let's see if it can do a good job of this. So select that, select them there, and we'll hit the erase, okay? And I imagine it's just going to blend this in with the green grass there on that bank on the other side of the lake. Again, it takes a little while for it to work. And there we go. It looks a little bit blurry though, but it's not bad. It's gotten rid of those people, and if you were just quickly looking at this image without the skyscraper, of course, you'd probably believe it. Something else we can do using AI is to restyle an image. So let me find something that I think will be a little bit more suitable. Let's try this big rig right here. So I want to open this one up now, not in Paint, but in Photos, because this is where we have the tool here. So if I click on the Edit and then go to this right here, AI, you can see clearly stands out. And let's see what I can do with this. So it's preparing an AI model. It can take up to a few minutes. Normally it doesn't take that long. It's normally only about, in my experience, about 20, 30 seconds. There we go. It wasn't even less than that. So you've got a fantasy style, which I don't think is going to work too well. Surrealism, cyberpunk. Cyberpunk could be interesting. Now you can describe what you want to do in text right there, or these preset ones. So let's try cyberpunk. And you can even change that with the text there at the top. Okay, it's given it a definite different look. Impressionist style. Okay, yeah, you can see all the brush strokes. That's pretty clever. Let's have a look at Renaissance. Not that trucks existed in that period. Okay, it's all right, yep. Creativity, you can scale that as well. What about a fantasy truck here? All right, not bad. It's changed the front bumper a little bit. So creativity, I can scale that back. Let's put it on to 12. See what effects that's going to have on it. Okay, it's looking more or less like the original image. What if I put it to 84? Letting it get rid... What? Okay, that's got nothing to do with my original image. Okay, got way too creative then. Let's scale that back to 46. Last attempt. Oh, okay, that's all right. All right, that's a very futuristic looking truck, slightly different there. A mystical look and feel. Okay, so fantasy art style. All right, so I wouldn't put that creativity too high because then it just lets loose and does pretty much whatever it wants there with the AI. But some interesting, fun things you can do with this. The next feature I want to test out is the super resolution feature. So imagine you want to really crop in, lowering that resolution of something, and I want to focus here on my daughter's face. So let's just drag this over to her face, and it's not going to look the original now as sharp or as good because I've really cropped in a lot. So that crop is basically done. Maybe I want to just brighten it up a little bit. It's already quite bright. I wouldn't touch anything here. So if I apply a bit of zoom to this, you can see that, all right, the resolution has dropped off. Still looks relatively good though, the original image. So let's click on now super resolution with AI. So I want to take it from just over 1,000 pixels by just over 900 to, well, let's make it times 2 here. Okay, now it's enhanced it, and let's have a look at the difference. Can we see any difference? Oh yes, okay, noticeably. So see where her ear is and the earring, I can see some jaggies. So the edges look a little bit pixelated and jagged, right? And you can definitely see now as I zoom in, let's just move along a little bit more here, the slider, and see that. So it's looking pixelated at the end, and then the super resolution. Okay, I can clearly see a difference there. And let's just go over where her eye is. Not too much of a difference there, but it certainly is sharpening up that image. So that's pretty impressive. Then we have Microsoft M365 Copilots. So you can use this to generate files for you, and it can give you ideas. It can summarize your text, rewrite for you, and you just need to spit out what you want it to do. So it's very useful for presentations as well. It can do that. It can also sort and organize all of your files and make things a lot more simpler.
So quickly, the pros. Well, build quality, the Cerulean build that we get all around now, not just the lid, but everything. Very good. The frame touchpad too is great. The backlit keyboard is excellent. And the 70-watt-hour battery, when you are just doing sort of light tasks, is phenomenal. It goes for 13, 14 hours in my testing with 30% brightness. Chrome tabs, media consumption, that kind of light work. So typical kind of office work, spreadsheets or something, this should last most people days before you need to plug it in and charge it, which is really good. The travel weight of it, of course, is another very attractive selling point too. This 980 grams, making it super lightweight. And then we've got an OLED screen, which I get onto the cons now. The OLED screen is only 60 hertz, which is a bit of a, yeah, that's not amazing. I wish it was 120. And it's 1200p. Now 1200p at 14 inches, I wouldn't consider it to be deal breaker, but if you set the scaling to 100%, you can see some jaggy edges on some of the text and fonts if you look really close, that is. But at normal viewing distances, it's not too bad. But having been spoiled with the 1600p screen here with the pre-release version I tested out and then going to this, I am definitely noticing that difference right there. So there's other things to be aware of. If you're someone that likes to run Linux, well, you can't on this because there's no booting external USB pen drives at the time of this video. That's Qualcomm's policy for now. I hope that does change in the future. Maybe with Windows ARM, that it's Windows as well as involved too there too. So I hope that can change. So we have those Copilot Plus AI features too that I've shown you. Pretty good AI performance too out of this. And there's some fun things that you can do and some very practical stuff too when you're looking at spreadsheets and documents and then image editing. So it's all useful things there. So what it boils down to is if you need a PC for its battery life, build quality, and a decent screen, this is it. If you're just going to be sticking to light tasks. However, if you're someone that needs some CAD performance or one of the top of the line integrated GPUs, then this is where it falls behind too. The Qualcomm Snapdragon X series here, falling behind a little and well, definitely in that GPU performance compared to the latest integrated graphics from AMD and Intel. That is, yeah, they do need to step that up, which I hope we're going to see in the next model, but still, ARM performance, very good on the battery or off the battery is the same. So that is the Zenbook A14. Thank you so much for watching this review.